FWA suggestions for the shortlist. So what happens is there are two votes for Footballer of the Year. There's one that the players do, which is the PFA, and we as football writers, or part of the association, have our own, which is voted for by April the 30th, with a winner announced on May the 3rd. A few suggestions for the short list of Player of the Year: Phil Foden, Rodri, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah. Missed a few Newcastle players off that. No Alexander Isak, no Anthony Gordon.
But you can vote for them, Shaun.
I can.
I mean, I love doing these because there's always a couple of interesting random ones, and sort of from people voting for local clubs that they cover. I mean, look, it's two from each of the three contenders, and the obvious flaw, issue, concern is that we could be crowning someone on May the 3rd and then crowning someone else as title winner 2 weeks later. It's really difficult because the season is not going to be decided by April the 30th. There's absolutely no chance that certainly the title race. So who would you go for?
You think Foden, probably. I think Foden's the leader in the clubhouse, as we say, don't you?
But then
particularly for the way he's finishing the season and being a major influence, could be the major influence in all their trophy wins.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at the way when De Bruyne was out, Foden took responsibility, whatever position he was playing in, whether it's a 10 slightly deeper coming in from the right. He's been I think a false 9 occasionally. City fans will educate me on that, but I think he's been absolutely outstanding. And it's crazy to think that he is 23 and he's got 5 titles already. I mean, he's just a phenomenon. That ability on a technical level to take the ball under pressure, to take it on the half turn, to already have scanned, as players say, to know where everyone is, and he's finishing. He is totally vindicating Pep Guardiola's decision not to send him out on loan earlier in the career when people like me were saying, oh, he needs to go and learn elsewhere. He's been outstanding. But then if Arsenal win the title, it has to be Declan Rice, because Rice has been absolutely phenomenal in terms of shielding the back four. Obviously a brilliant back four. I'm slightly surprised that Saliba hasn't had a mention in those because I think Saliba's been outstanding as well. But Declan Rice as a leader, as a 4, 6, 8, whatever you want to call him, I mean, he's just been outstanding.
Do you think whether your team wins the title has to decide whether you're Player of the Year or not? I mean, once voted for Scott Parker, for goodness sake,
and West Ham went down,
relegated.
I know. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a debate I always have with the sort of fallout to the Ballon d'Or. And I think
you get a vote on that.
Yeah,
have you still got the vote?
Yeah, and I just think that when you look at Messi, I think the fact that he won the World Cup, that was just huge. Like when Cannavaro won it in 2006, when Italy did so well. So yeah, it's a difficult one. The PFA, I think, have tried to delay their vote. But look, the hotel has to be booked, players has to be made aware, so I can understand why. But look, if City don't win the title, I don't think too many people would begrudge Phil Foden if he got it. But then Declan Rice will get many votes as well. And of course, Rodri, who's just had this rest, he will walk into any team.
It's always hard for a holding midfielder.
Yeah.
I know what you say about Declan Rice for Arsenal, because Arsenal would be an amazing thing to win the title. But for poor old Rodri, who's been consistently consistent Brilliant. For season after season, never loses a game, but occasionally scores a spectacular goal, to be fair, but probably less lauded than the rest.
Didn't we vote for N'Golo Kante one year? Was that or was that Vardy in that? I can't remember in the Leicester's title winning. Yeah, Makelele. No, it's
a hard one, isn't it?
It's a fair point. But Scott Parker was, he's obviously had a lot of skill, but he was not necessarily the most sort of flamboyant of players. Maybe that's a little bit harsh on Scott, given the advertisement at a young age. But look, Rodri would be worthy winners. But look, I think what it shows, and Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah from Liverpool. You could make a very good case for having Alexis McAllister in there. The way he's settled in, he's been absolutely outstanding.
Here you go again.
For them.
You've got 15 players.
Well, I do.
Do you think this is a particularly vintage season?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you've only got to look at the quality of the football that we're seeing. I mean, Arsenal have just been fabulous. Manchester City, they keep on winning. They're just an absolute machine. Liverpool, with all their injuries, what an amazing, and the emotional narrative of Jurgen Klopp, how good they've been. The quality of the football this season has just been absolutely outstanding. You can talk about whether it's one of the best title races, and you can have a debate about that when you're having games settled in the last minute or the last second, the Aguero moment. But in terms of sustained quality from a broader field, i.e. 3 teams, I think this has been one of the greatest.
Text still coming in. Jerry's got a question for you, Henry. Why couldn't Henry do the London Marathon and the show at the same time? Should be a doddle compared to those people with fridges in suits of armour on their backs. Gentle stroll while on air, and then breaking into a trot during the ad breaks to make up time.
Yeah, and you know what? I always sort of start slightly ahead of the deep sea divers in their lead weight boots, and then they overtake me by Tower Bridge. Actually, normally by the Cutty Sark. So look, as long as I finish in daylight, but there is that slightly humiliating moment when they do sort of start picking up the cones and the stragglers.
Oh, you're not back there.
Absolutely.
I've been running with you, and it's hard work.
It's my 8th and last.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're retiring from marathons?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 61 and my knees are shot, but yeah.
Oh. So what?
But I'm doing it for Sir Bobby Robson's foundation, and what amazing work Lady Elsie and the family do, and Sir Bobby's legacy. Partly, without again getting too emotional, because of how Sir Bobby helped me, and I'm sure he helped you during your career. Whether it was an interview, whether it was a bit of advice, whether it was a bit of calm down, lad.
Gave me a bit of a rollicking once, I think I've told you about, but that's a long story.
But was it a constructive rollicking?
It didn't start as that. It ended up with one.
Was it fair?
He had I'd written that Newcastle was so fractured that they needed 4 different dressing rooms.
Yeah,
I think I've told this story before. He went ballistic, demanded I came up to see him, and for some reason TV, radio, including talkSPORT, were there to monitor this. The fact he was going to absolutely tear me apart. He called me into the office, tore me apart for a bit. Then he said, well, come on, what's your football knowledge? And then we exchanged a few views on football knowledge, and I mentioned that my wife's cousin or uncle played for the North Shields team in the FA Vars of 1969, and he proceeded to reel off the team.
But
the North Shields side.
There you go. And I bet you walked out of there as best of friends, because that was Sir Bobby.
Absolutely. But he had delivered the rollicking he wanted to deliver, and.
But isn't that the sign of a great manager, that he can make his point and also have the sort of the human empathy for you to leave that room just sort of floating on air?
Yeah, it was tough to start with, but it ended up on a good note. This is Sunday edition on talkSPORT with Shaun Custis and Henry Winter.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.